Don't have Debbie tonight?
I'm here on the screen. I'm in Roswell, waiting for the aliens to get me.
Oh, there you are.
Awesome. Yay. So all of our committee members are here. I don't know if you need anything else on that, Debbie.
Nope, I'm good. I got everyone.
Thank you. Items of business, we will move along to the resolution for on-call buildings.
Yes, thank you. So the agenda bill and resolution and contract that you have in front of you is to establish an on-call contract with Townsend and Associates to do building inspections and plan reviews. This is just on an as-needed basis when either staffing or a surge in applications requires it. So you'll see that there isn't actually any sort of budget information at this time on the agenda bill because, like I said, it's just on an as-needed basis. They were selected off the MRSC roster, and so we were able to look at several different firms and picked them because we felt they'd best be able to meet our needs based on the qualifications they presented. You can see also that they do have a couple local clients with Puyallup, and of course the county being clients that they service as well. So we would love to be able to get your approval to move this on for full council approval. Then be able to get them on board.
So how much do you expect them to do the commercial sort of review, right? Because you selected them because they could do the commercial.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big component of it, and the reason that is one of our primary areas of concern is because right now, with the way we're staffed, our current building inspector one who is here is still learning the ropes, and some of that commercial inspection is outside his lane at this point. However, we were recently able to come to terms with a new senior building inspector who will be starting, I believe, on September 19th.
That's excellent.
Yeah, so we're really good news there. So that will take some dependence off of this having this contract. However, we still want to have it, as backup just in case.
What's a structural engineer compared to a regular plan examiner?
So a structural engineer is going to look at like the load-bearing portions of the building and make sure that all of that meets appropriate building codes for safety, seismic loads, that kind of stuff. Those are things that we look at on a surface level. We just kind of check the boxes to ensure the plans are meeting those requirements.
But the plan reviewer does that?
The plan reviewer can do that, but the structural engineer is definitely able to go a little bit deeper and take a look at specific issues that may arise with structural review.
No surprise, it's quite a bit more for that person.
Yeah, I don't foresee that we would actually need in-depth structural review that much. The point of our review is to simply review. We don't want to get on the hook of trying to provide design insights back to the applicant for them to incorporate, because that exposes us to some liability. So while it's nice that they have that, I don't expect that that's something we would end up using.
So what type of budget would you be trying to work this within? Just whatever payroll is and where it's at?
So
kind of balance up?
The way that their rates work is they basically get a percentage, or they work off of the building permit and plan review fees that we collect.
Okay.
And so you'll see on their rate schedule, they break out how they get paid based on the type of review they're providing and the valuation of that. So, for instance, with I think it was plan review is based on 50% of the plan review fees that we charge. So when we get charged, or when we receive payment for an application, and for the plan review services, they'll get 50% of that fee in order to do that review.
Fine.
Yep.
Okay.
I love that when you can have external resources.
Yeah, the backup that way.
Yeah, it's huge help. Huge help. Thank you.
Yep, we'll move this one forward to the next available council meeting. Consent agenda, please.
Great.
Thank you. And item number 2 is Fennel Creek stuff. Doug, is he online?
There he is.
I'm online. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. This is related to Fennel Creek Trail 2B2. This is the segment of the trail that we actually just are basically finished up right there. That ends up at Old Sumner Buckley Highway. This is a basically work that was already completed by parametrics as part of their construction management services that they were doing. We couldn't just tell them to stop doing work, and but we knew this was coming down the pipe, and it is for 62,000 of additional costs on their construction management and paper, basically the paper handling as well. This is all being supported by grant funding as a part of this project. So as you can see, there's plenty of money that was left in the grant portion of this project, or the trails project that was left over that this supports and approved by WashDOT. And I just also want to note that two things is one, parametrics did note that that this work, any additional time when they gave the original contract, it was going to cost us additional money because they were trying to keep it under control, minimal. And two, this is just another one, and you're going to hear me, this isn't the first time I'm saying this, and it won't be the last time I'm saying this, that wet spring weather that we had that just created a lot of problem during construction period that we are, what it created was, additional days people were out there doing work or dealing with the contractors, and it's just cost us additional money, unfortunately. But like I said, the good news is this is all supported by the grant that was part of the Trails project. And last note is parametrics. I do want to say they have been the team that they have out there, and with Ellen York Park is a really good team, and we get A1 service from that team. So it's not.
Doug, if we don't use all of our money, can we use it someplace else in the trail version or some type of planning to use that?
I don't believe so. I'm not the person to ask that. I believe Marilyn might have the answer, because I wasn't involved in this project when it first started out. I only came in at the end.
Right.
But I do believe this was funding that was part of the trail project that in 2A, 2B, 1, 2B, 2. And that's what it's for. We can't, I know it'd be nice to say, hey, let's carry this over to Ellen York Park or something like that. But unfortunately, I believe it's.
Well, even Fennel Creek, we had something else we could use with it, like the next segment, just some type of planning or.
That I don't know. Again, it's probably, most of these projects, these grants for these projects, I should say, have a timeline on them that the money has to be spent and the project has to be completed within a certain time frame. And the next phase that you're talking about, which I think is they're calling it 3A, 3 or something like that, that takes us basically through the field along the trail up to Church Lake Road, and we're not anywhere near. We're only in a preliminary design on that. I think Parametrics has done a preliminary planning on that, but we haven't actually done the actual design or anything like that. So
Let me know next
it's a
time we
question I
meet.
can ask.
Can you meet? Let me know next time we meet about the money.
Find out if what can be done with that leftover money.
What can be done with it, and when we meet next time, just so I'm aware of it.
Sure, I can ask that question. Raise it to the people that
State
know.
government made sense. Wouldn't it make sense that we asked to roll it over and do the 3A because we're short,
You're short more than that at this point. Yeah.
Well, even if we had some planning or some type of, we do so many research before we get into a project. I mean, if we need a parametrics to do some planning for us for that, it might help save.
Yeah, I don't know the terms of this particular grant, but I think it's pretty rare that they would take the remainder from one project and roll it over to another one, because sometimes grant awards are based on what that project is able to produce. You know, I can't say for sure.
I was just
Just
saying
that's
it's
what
the
I've
same
experienced
area,
in the
so,
past.
yeah.
Yeah, typically what you don't spend, it gets put back in the honey bucket for for somebody else's project that's waiting to be, that's been already been approved or sanctioned and moved and been, we call it on the wait list, sometimes the short list. So yeah.
Hey, Doug, we have our own honey bucket. Remember that. Don't forget about it.
What's that?
We have our own honey bucket here too. Don't forget about that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Doug.
Okay.
Good then?
I'm good. Consent, I would think.
We'll move this one forward to the next available consent agenda. And then we'll move along to the Alan York thing. Doug, again with you.
Yes. Again, it's me. This is the contract extension for Krazan, who does the materials testing at the Alan York project that I brought up to you guys a month ago, I guess it is. I mentioned just that this was going to be coming down the pipe to you, in front of you, and the future CDC once I had everything in place. This is expenditure for the work that we need them to do, and it's just, again, this is a project that you can't just tell them to stop. We're right in the middle of construction. They're doing their job. And if we're, again, that wet spring has caused additional testing, unforeseen things in the ground have caused additional testing. And so we have this expenditure of an additional $23,871 to their contract. The original contract was only $8,317. Why it was so low, I have no idea. Even my tank project up in Tacoma Point tank project, even that contract for the same company was more than that, and that was far less testing, known to be testing. So I think they way underestimated what they were going to have to do in the beginning. So, this is the negative is because the project as a whole is over budget. That's, council approved to move forward with that project, and right now we haven't done an amendment to the budget to make it whole again. That's something that we'll be looking at if we need to do. Ryan reminded me I need to talk to Sherry about this, and real soon. So, but it's just work that needs to happen if you want this project completed.
I have a question for you, Doug.
Yes.
I know you're taking all these projects, but what type of testing are we doing before we start these projects to see what's down on the ground? Because are we doing any coring or anything? There's the same problem with the Middle Creek Trail. We didn't realize how bad it was as they dug deep in there and had to get different equipment. And the same thing here, we're surprised we didn't realize how much bark or whatever was down there in the tank. Did we not? How do we test the ground before we start a project?
Yeah, I mean, the tank, how are you going to find an anomaly like that? Unless I mean, an old oil tank, that's, buried in the ground from an old house that was there once upon a time. I don't, that I can't. The unsuitable material that was at the subsurface, that I can't account for. That's a good question there, but it is, you would think that we could have done a little bit of pre-planning or pre-design, looking into whether there was something, how suitable the material was there. So that, you could question that one. But the other piece is just, the weather. I hate to keep saying that, but we all know what that this spring was like, and it just killed us on that project. That project, it started up at the wrong time because we thought we could start up in the spring, and it just did not. Mother Nature did not want to cooperate with us on that one.
We should have known the bark was there or something beforehand, because hopefully in the future we can plan differently. Because I watched Gold Rush, and they'd bring their backhoes and they'd dig it down about 25 feet. They found it was on the ground, but they started working. Why can't we do the same thing too in the future? I mean, when that was
No,
trash.
that was good. I mean, I know John was around. Ryan, I don't know remember if he was around, but when we started clearing out the area for the public service center, I don't know if you remember what that was like before we started grading all that. At one time, we thought that site was nothing but bad material. No one really knew until we started doing some exploratory stuff. So, sometimes you got to spend a little bit of money up front to save the money, and to save yourselves in the rear. So,
Yep. Okay, thank you.
What happens if we don't pass this?
That's the question I was waiting
He was gonna-
Yeah, please don't ask.
That's a killing.
Yeah.
Stop
I'm not
construction.
the person to answer that question.
I think the quickest answer is that moving forward, we just wouldn't have the services of this consultant and their specific expertise. So if there becomes issues with materials on the site, whether compaction is adequate to put the field down or paving or whatever, then we're not able to check and make sure that it is adequate and that the contractor is meeting the specifications required.
Yeah.
So there is a risk.
And then if things go awry down the road, let's say a year later after we build this field, and the turf has got problems with it, and then you start saying, well, did the contractor compact it correctly? I don't know. Did he? I don't know. Part of this material testing is to keep everybody in line, to keep the contractor honest, and to give us validation that the work to be done is going to be good. So we don't just do it because we like to. So
I get that. I'm just like the contractor bid a certain amount, right? I mean, now this is like about 200% higher than they bid.
oh yeah, it's much more. But see, Krazan, these material testing, they're not all that much different than like the building review that you just looked at or whatever. They're just estimating how many times their employee is going to have to come out on the site and do some testing. And, we said, okay, he's going to have to come out on the site a dozen times. So it's going to cost this amount of money, and that's the contract we write up. But if he has to come out on the site 24 times, we don't just pay him for 12 times. We have to pay him for 24 times. We're calling him to come out. He doesn't come out unless we ask him to come out. So
then why ask for a bid? Why not just ask for a rate? Right? So, because if you're paying piecework, then why not just ask how much it is per piece?
But he does give us the rate, and so he gives us a rate, and for a minimum travel time and all that for someone to come out and do some soils testing or something like that, or compaction or whatever.
I don't want to give you guys raspberries. I'm just concerned because it's like.
So part of the reason we try to set a limit in these contracts So you're right. Why don't you just give us a rate? And then, but see, that's like you. And if you approve that, that's like you giving me an open-end check for us to have them come out as much as we want them to come out, no matter what. I mean, part of this is to try to keep everybody in line with what we think the cost of this project is going to be, right? We think it's going to cost X amount for a contractor to build something. We think it's going to cost X amount of dollars for construction services. We think it's going to cost X amount of dollars for materials testing. All these things, and they all come together for a particular project. So, don't you, and you like to see that, right? You like to see that, okay, this project is going to cost me this amount of dollars. We try to keep on, within that. If we just say, oh, we need a contract with Krazan, and whenever he comes out, it's going to cost us $75 for an hour, and we don't know how many times it's going to come out, but we'll have them come out whenever we need them. Wouldn't you like to know how many times that we think that's going to be?
Yeah. But is that Krazan or is that the contractor that's estimating?
No,
how
it's
many
Krazan.
times we need?
The contractor does not ask Krazan to come out. The city asks Krazan to go out to the job site. Krazan is working for the city, not the construction contractor.
So they're the ones that said, I'm going to come out 4 times, and we said, no, you're coming out 12 times.
Right. They said, we think we're going to have to, when they created that original contract, and I wasn't involved because, and I'm not here to throw John under the bus or whatever, when he was handling it, because I don't know, but they thought that it was going to cost that amount of dollars or that many visits to do the project. And many things led into the fact that was off. So, and so, instead of just continuing to spend the money, we were coming back and saying, this is what additional funds were going to cost. And we went over this number in the last couple of weeks. We've gone over this a couple of times with Krazan to make sure that we think we're lined up so that what we have today that I'm presenting to you today should get us through the end of the project. We know what we've been up against not before, and we know where we are today. So,
Thanks
I don't
for
like
the
coming
extra time.
to you for money.
For me?
I don't like coming to you for asking for more money, especially when